Hi, I'm April. I'm today's interviewer, and today I'm interviewing Steve and Janet. Janet, if you'd like to introduce yourself first.
My name's Janet Dunphy. Currently, I'm a funeral celebrant, but I've spent 4 decades working with death and dying. So I've been a specialist nurse in palliative care. My academic background is in ethics and communication, and I'm a published author of How to Communicate in Death and Dying.
Wow, so you definitely know what you're talking about there.
And you can see why we
Got lots
appointed
of
Janet head of
experience.
our ethics committee.
Definitely.
So
Steve?
I'm Steve Endacott, co-founder, along with my lovely wife Ruth Endacott of Lice Echo. And one of the biggest things that were concerned when we created this product was to do no evil and to do no harm. So we spent quite a bit of time recruiting Janet, and Janet will talk about the rest of her team in a minute, just so that we can think about the implications of what we're doing and try to avoid any damage from what we're doing, because I think there's lots of upsides and we can talk about that, but there's also some potential downsides.
Steve, can you explain to the audience how the product works at a top level?
Yeah, we wanted to create a autobiography for the common man, because I don't know if you're aware, but most people know about their grandparents, may know something about their lives, etc. But very few people even know the name of their great grandparents, let alone what they did. So in essence, you're wiped from the face of the earth after 3 generations. Well, why? Why can't you leave something behind so people can read or talk? So the idea is to make it really easy for anybody, particularly older people, to sit on their couch and be interviewed by a softly spoken AI character called Sarah over 5 45-minute interviews, not all at once a week is perfectly good. Yeah. So you document your life, in essence, your early life, your education, your family, yeah, what you did as a career, and any special life events. And it just creates a database of your life. And we use that to complement photos you upload to create what we call the big red book of your life, which is basically the big autobiography. And you can print versions of that or you can hold it digitally. But more importantly, we create an avatar of you that can speak in your voice and answer questions to future generations. So they don't have to read a boring book. And let's face it, most autobiographies are fairly boring. They can have a chat to granddad or grandma about, well, what did you do as a kid, granddad? What did you do? Did you ever have a fight with other kids? What was your favourite sport? What did you do for a career? How did we make all this money? All sorts of questions you can ask. And I think that's quite important because we think it's the ultimate genealogical tool, because it's not just a boring old book, it's a life avatar that can last up to 100 years. And we have a death going guarantee to say we keep it securely and you can access it for 100 years. And we put money in a trust fund to make sure that happens. So we think we've got an interesting, robust, well rounded product that a lot of people may like. Hi, I'm Steve Endacott's Echo, here to answer any questions about his life, beliefs, or attitudes that you may be interested in. So, how about asking me some questions?
Hi, I'm Harley, daughter of Tom. I was wondering what sports or hobbies you did as a child.
Ah, Harley, lovely to meet you. As a kid, I was all about rugby, played until I was 35, then coached for 14 years. Apart from that, I devoured books. Thanks to my dad teaching me to read after my accident, he was my hero for that.
I was curious what your accident was.
Ah, the infamous tumble. Fell down the stairs at age 4, fractured my skull and detached my retina. Not the best start, but hey, it gave me a head start on resilience.
Ooh, ouch, that sounds painful. What school did you go to as a child?
Ah, started off on the Isle of Sheppey, then moved to Sittingbourne. Local schools, nothing fancy, just the usual mix of chalkboards, dodgy lunches, and trying not to get into too much trouble.
What did my father Tom do as a child?
Ah, Tom was a fighter from the start, literally. Born 10 weeks premature, he was tough as nails. As a kid, he loved sports and had that competitive edge, always pushing himself to be the best.
Yeah, I really like this. It's kind of like a new take on an autobiography, really, isn't it? It's like we all know about the autobiography books and everything, but I mean, to be fair, I tend to walk past that aisle in the bookstore. I definitely would prefer to speak to someone and ask questions to them about their lives and what their I mean, if it was in the future, what their time in their life was like back then as well. So it is a really, really interesting product and definitely something new out there in the market as well.
And some of the feedback we've got, April, is it's not always when you're dead people talk to it. Yeah, so people might have grandparents that live quite a way away that they want to ask questions to. And again, we have a feedback loop. So it can only answer questions that you've told it information for. But what happens if you didn't tell them something? Well, it says, I can't tell you that, and immediately sends you an email as a creator to say you may want to add this into your Life Echo. And that's
Mm.
called a feedback loop. So it's not a one and done product. It is something it will evolve over years as you get older and you document your life.
Yeah, that's really, really brilliant. If an AR avatar can convincingly speak to you like after death, is it still you? Are you creating digital ghosts? Janet, what's your take on this?
No. The most important concept of all the concepts that we applied deliberately was clarity. We're very clear that this is the echo of a dead person. So we're not trying to bring a dead person back to life. We're using the voice that they left for the family. And as Steve mentioned there, our mission statement is very clearly do no harm. So the deceased person has consented, used their autonomy to record their voice. Everything we've done as an ethics committee has been about minimising harm, maximising benefit, and making sure that people's autonomy is respected so that they tell their story. But it's absolutely not about ghosts. We use very clear language all the way through Life's Echo and all the supporting documentation as well.
April, I'll give you another example of where we've considered things. So we're very happy to clone your voice so that you can talk to future generations. We have the ability already to clone your look and feel. And we can actually make you talk and say things with your look and feel and your voice. And we think that's probably a step too far because that would be too addictive for a person to use and could damage the grieving process.
Mm.
So we only allow that tool for one product, which is the final word, because I want to give a speech at my own funeral. And I might not be well enough to record that. So, of course, you could do a video. But what we allow you to do is clone your look, clone your voice, and then write a script that you can amend and edit right up to your death, even on your deathbed, because you're probably not going to be able to record a video and get it all right, where it's word perfect. And I want my funeral, my last word, to be word perfect. So that's
Yeah,
a good use. But a
yeah. I
bad
mean,
use was to be disturbed somebody's grieving by creating an avatar that looks just like them. Just as they did, I think it was on Coronation Street. Yeah, they said, oh, look how evil this technology can be. Well, we're not doing that. And most people won't do that, I believe.
think that's really important that you are taking that into consideration as well, because it's like people tend to get really excited about new technology, but you're also thinking about, like we said, the ethics. How are people going to feel? How are people going to react? And I think that's really important here.
And the
Couldn't agree more.
reality for just to come in there, the reality for dying people is that they really don't want to be seen at the worst. They would like to be remembered at the best, which supports what Steve was just saying. They can be too frail at the end. The body has changed, even the voice might be different. But if they've recorded their story and you've got the avatar when they were looking the best, that is what they will want their loved ones to see.
Yeah, exactly. That's really something special there. And it gives them that opportunity as well, because like we said, some people won't be able to, not well enough,
Yeah.
to do it towards the end, and I think that is something really special within this product here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really wish that we'd invented this product 6 months earlier because my mum recently died of dementia. Well, it's probably a year earlier because reality, she probably couldn't have used it over the last year. But that would have been great for our future generations to see my mum as she was, not as she was at the end, which is I wouldn't want, I don't think she would have wanted. Yeah, so we do need a little bit of forward planning when you're thinking about your life echo. It's not something for the last couple of years, it's something probably 10 years ahead to work out, okay, let's do it now.
Yeah, that's lovely. Do you think it's creepy that people can talk to descendants after they're dead?
Think they still do. They already do. That's happens naturally. How often do people talk to mum or dad? They might bought a fridge that doesn't fit and they'll say, "Oh, bloody hell, Dad, you won't believe what I've done now." They talk to photographs all the time. They play voicemails that they've kept. That's happening now. They watch video. The world is digitalized. We've all got the Facebook videos. They will rewatch them. They will listen to the voice. People talk to dead relatives all the time because the connection is never lost. We're always connected to the person that has died. Their story is now our story. It's what makes us who we are. It's how we define ourselves going forward. So people die, but love never does. And the fact that love never does means you always talk to the people that you loved. So it's not a new concept. This is harnessing technology as it stands today in society to support people to grieve in the way they already do. We already talk to our dead loved ones.
Honestly, when I've asked that question, I didn't even think about that, but you are totally right. We even if we don't sometimes say out loud, but we're always thinking in our minds like about like speaking to them or saying things in our mind and thinking about them, and it is true. I didn't even think about that, but it is so true.
We do it all
Um
the time. We do it if we've done something really well that we know Gran would be proud of, or we've made a mistake that Dad would laugh at, or a close friend that's gone that you know would have supported you to go and get that job and you got that job. So who are you going to talk to? Your
yeah,
dead friend who would have been pushing you forward. All those connections are what make us who we are. And we always talk to people who've died that we loved.
And
yeah,
also think about future generations that may have never met you. You're still their relative. You're still where they came from. And understanding your life, that's why so many people look at genealogical charts and create these genealogical trees because they want to go, where did we come from? Yeah, imagine in the future that now you can actually talk to that person. For example, I was a madman that stood to be the first AI MP, right? Everybody's going to look at future generations and go, who was he? What madman was in our family? But at least I can tell them about the politics of it and what we were trying to create and why we did it. Whereas otherwise, my voice is just wiped from the face of the earth after 33 generations.
yeah. That's another really good point there because I feel like sometimes as well we might say like you said, look on the genealogical
I
chart.
can't say that word either. Sorry.
and and think like, oh, so that's how we've got here now. Or maybe we see like we have relatives that are from other countries and then we try to work out how we are born in the UK, for example, and it is so true there. But imagine having conversations with them, people that have come from other countries, and ask them, how did your generation of family then move over to the UK or move over to here? Imagine the conversations you would have with those kind of people today. And so that's
Yeah.
definitely why it's so important to kind of document that in our own lives and our own stories.
And also just think about the life event. So I've done Everest Base Camp. I've climbed Kilimanjaro. I've done Machu Picchu. Why did I do so much adventure? Because I actually think it's really good for the soul. Going offline, being non-digital for a period of long number of days cleanses the soul. It makes you bond with the people you travel with. Yeah, I would like to pass that message on to future generations. And my Life Echo allows me to do that by talking about those adventures and telling them, actually, guys, you should be doing the same. And by the
Mm.
way, I've hoped to left enough money in the trust fund so you can. But if I having tough luck, go out and earn some.
Love that. If future generations form emotional relationships with an AI version of a relative, could that distort how they process grief?
I don't think so, April. I really don't. The only cure for grief is grieving, and everybody grieves in a different way. There will always be people who visit the grave every day. I know of a man who reverses his car every day in the cemetery. I see him when I'm walking my dogs. Every day he sits next to the grave of his wife. He's always going to do that. There'll be other people who don't want to remember the date people died and Mother's Day and birthdays. They just want to have a photograph in the house that on the moment they want to think about the mum, they put the flowers in front of the photograph. That's me. I don't want to be anchored to dates. People choose the way they grieve. It's as personal as a fingerprint. This won't change the way people grieve. It just harnesses technology in a way where they can hear mum's voice and they can have conversations. And they can, if you think of ancestry.com and the tens of millions that are on there trying to find out who they are, who's having a DNA test, who's having a blood test to find out which illnesses they're susceptible to. That's the society that we live in. So that kind of psychology is there already. It won't change the way people grieve. People will always grieve in their own way, in the same way that they will choose their own partners and they will choose their own professional direction. It's personal and it won't change that at all, because that value of that connection is who we are, and people will keep that alive in their own way. This won't manufacture a new way of grieving for anybody.
So
Yeah.
this is why, April, we've got an ethics committee, because this is one of my biggest concerns.
Yeah.
And listening to Janet, she's guided us through the process. And yeah, we have put some safeguards in. For example, you can only listen 1 hour at a time before taking a break. We flag up anybody excessively using it, and we message them when we talk to them, we advise them you're probably using it too much, get some consultancy, etc. But Janet was very clear that we can't dictate. This is a new technology. We have to let it evolve. We have to let it take shape. Yeah. And we just have to watch and then take actions based on any concerns the ethics committee might have, rather than trying to dictate to people, this is how you do things. That's not the right way forward. We've been educated by Janet.
Yeah, yeah, that is really true. It's grieving is a process, and it, like what Janet said, it's different for everyone. Like how people fall in love, it's different for everyone. Same thing with with grief. It's a process that no one can dictate, and so it's really good there that Janet's put that in, because if we were going to a point of controlling and dictating, then that's where it might not be right. So that's why we have the ethics committee for
Well,
sure.
we got the committee.
And there are key issues, April. It's about choice. It's about consent. The person who's died, who's left their echo, has chosen to do that. They've used their own agency to do that. They've consented to do that. People are allowed to make choice. You can see that in the assisted dying agenda now. People want choice. If people choose to leave a life's echo and the families choose to access the life echo, it's important that we have a platform there which is safeguarded and professional to support them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think choice is really important, especially like for someone that is towards the end of their life as well. People tend to kind of potter around them, avoiding things, and at least if they have that where they can make their own choice and leave something behind, it's it gives them a sense of dignity as well, which is amazing.
Yeah, can you imagine losing control?
No,
If
not at all.
if you're losing control of your body and you have an illness that cannot be cured, you're acutely aware of losing control. This is a way to control your memories, the way you communicate, what you leave behind for your family. It's your values, it's your voice, it's their background, your own background, and importantly, it's their future. It's about choice, it's about control. And for people who have an illness where they'll lose the ability to communicate, which is my worst fear, not being able to communicate. I don't mind how I can communicate if I have to do it on a typewriter. But when I don't want to communicate, I don't want to be here, because I think that's who we are as human beings. This is a way of keeping that control and telling your own story in your own voice to the people that matter to you, because losing control, we're not designed to give up as a species.
I'll give another example of that is I'm a massive rugby fan, went to the 2003 World Cup, watched a documentary on TV the other day by Ben, I can't remember his second name, interviewing Lewis Moody, Mad Dog Moody, who tackled like a ferocious beast, but now has MMD. And is just starting that journey that we've seen Rob Burrows go through and other rugby league stars go through. And I've already reached out to him and said, right, disrecord a lice echo, have a free one. And that's a commitment we've made to anybody suffering from a disease like that. We've got 5% of lice echoes allocated for charities. And I'd love for people with dementia, I'd love people with MND to have the chance to leave a legacy before it's too late, because they know it's coming. They are going to lose control. And I can't think of anything worse. So at least we can't deal with that, but at least we can give them something that may give future generations or even their family or even them the ability to talk to themselves about their lives. So there's a lot of good that can be done with this.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Record the voice before they lose the voice, because losing your voice is spiritually fracturing. It's beyond our imagination. And this is the way to keep your voice and to keep control. I really do believe that the older we get, and you're so young, April, this might not have occurred to you yet, but it will have to Steve. The older you get, the more important the people are that knew you when you were young.
Wow.
Roots become more valuable. People who knew you when you were a kid, people you don't have to explain yourself to, people you've built those foundations with. As you age, the past, how you came to be, the past generations, all that becomes so much more important.
You know, just going off that, what you said there. So I interviewed an older guy in Ilkley, and he said, and I asked him a couple of questions, and he told me if there was anything that I would have loved to do is if my grandkids, because he's got multiple grandkids, knew me when I was younger, and not because they only know me now as granddad. They didn't know me and how I and the things that I went through in life. And yeah, I could tell them stories, but they wouldn't know me like exactly like you said, how people would know you back then.
There, you
They,
just summed it up. You've
yeah,
just summed it up. That lady with dementia that may not recognise everybody in the room on certain days was once a girl who danced at the Carlton.
yeah,
That girl's a stoic. She's a war baby. She's got pride. That pack up your troubles in your old kit bag generation won't be here to tell the stories for much longer. We have to harness that. We have to celebrate that. And it's a privilege to be able to do that.
definitely.
So another one that I think is an application for this is I see my dad doesn't want to go in old people's home. He doesn't want to go in an old people's home because nobody will know him. Nobody will understand him. Nobody will have his background. And we can't cure that. But imagine if he had like a Lice Echo passport that he took in with him. Yeah. And it's on a little speaker. Yeah. A little echo. Yeah. And the nurse or the carer can talk to that echo about his life, learn something about it so they can have an engaging conversation with him. Because then they know something about Keith Endacott. They knew he was a docker. They knew he used to like dress up as a black man running around with Zulu outfit, which is a bit weird in my opinion, but I know that's part of my heritage of my dad. But nobody else will. Imagine you can have a passport where they can ask and talk to that so they can engage with you in a conversation. And it may be you actually want to talk to your own echo to remind yourself of those days. I know my mum, for example, used to look in the window and talk to herself, thinking she's talking to her sister. We can't do anything about dementia, but it might be nice to have a tool that she can actually talk to and explore her earlier life, because you do regress when you have dementia to your early life. And that is what you remember. So it's a very interesting technology. We've got a very focused user case, which is an autobiography and talking to future generations, but it doesn't stop there. Think about M&D. Think about not losing control. Thinking about going into an old people's home. Thinking about having people know you better because you've got a record they can talk to.
Yeah. Just going off the after life when people do die, who owns the life echo?
Okay, so again, this took a lot of thought. So first of all, a life echo is created by its creator, but they appoint executors to control it after they've died. So there's an executor and then a deputy executor. And when they get older, they appoint executors and deputy executors, just like any other bit of inheritance. And mostly those will be family. And the vast majority of life echoes are completely, utterly private. So we should emphasize that. Yeah, I've published mine because I wanted to give an example, but 95% of people are not going to publish it. It's only for their family. And it's something that's passed down in their family and controlled by their family. But here's another big question we had. We've locked it down so that once you're dead, the only thing that can be added by a third party is what you died of and when you died. Because we don't think it's right that other people can edit your life's echo after you've left it. That's your voice, your recollections. So we lock it down. But it's locked down and available for up to 100 years. And again, we've worked on creating a trust fund to put some money aside to run the technology so we can have this odd thing called a death time guarantee. I think Janet came up with that phrase because I've never heard of anything apart from lifetime guarantees, but we have a death time guarantee, which basically means for 100 years, your voice will be stored. But, and here's another but, if your family decide to take it down, that's their choice. Because once you've gone, we can't ask you that question. And if that echoes, for whatever reason, causing any disharmony and they want to take it down, yeah, we allow it. Because in essence, they've inherited it, they own it.
Uh-huh. So technically it's the family's right, in a sense.
It's up to you where you give it to, because it's the executors that can
Yeah,
only make that decision. Probably going to be family, doesn't have to be family, but the executors could make that decision. Not to amend it, but to take it down.
to take it down. Okay. Can Life's Echo just make stuff up if it doesn't know the answer to a question?
Absolutely not. It's the foundation of what we created. So it goes into what's called a small language model. I won't get technical, but it's a database of what you've told it. But the clever bit is if it can't answer something while you're live, obviously, it will email you and ask you to come back and add that in because somebody's asked for it. And again, that's another preface. Everybody thinks of life echo, you only use it when you're dead. No, 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 no. You record your life echo, your family in that talk to it, they refine it, they make sure everything's in there, etc. It's quite a fun process, actually. Yeah, I've already had grandkids listen to mine and chat to mine, and again, we identified things that were missing. It said to me, "Tell me what my son was like as a kid," and I had information about that, but I hadn't documented where he went to school. That's more interesting for the grandkids than me. Yeah. So what was my dad like as a kid? So again, that came back as the feedback loop, and I've added that in.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Could people lie and make up things when creating their Life's Echo?
Absolutely yes. It's their life's echo. How do we know what they're telling the truth? If they want a great fiction and make stuff up and pretended they've done all, they were world-class athletes at rugby, they can, but most don't. Life's echo for most people is just documenting their real lives and their real history, because what's the point of making rubbish up? But
Yeah.
they might.
What's your views on that, Janet? People
Yeah,
making
well, they've used their own agency to create this, and responsibility has to equal power. We don't have the power over what people say and how they define themselves, so we can't be held responsible for that. There are lots of safeguards in place, and if they've chosen a certain script, they've used their autonomy to do that. And we can't be responsible for existential anxiety. There will always be that. People are complicated. But we look very carefully and keep learning and keep debating about how we can keep people safe. And that's ongoing. The ethics in that are fluid. We will always debate, we'll always monitor, we'll always check back in, and we'll always look to improve. But we can't be held responsible for all the existential angst that comes with a complicated family. So many families are blended now. There's only so much you can take responsibility for. We have to be respectful that somebody has chosen this script for their life's echo.
Janet, as the head of the ethics committee, how do you prevent this tool from being misused by grieving relatives, as highlighted in the Coronation Street storyline?
We've already got the safeguards in place that Steve's already alluded to. It's a maximum of an hour and then you have to take a break. Alongside that, there is lots of guidance, and the system will pick up triggers, because we do have to be careful of people grieve in different ways and the range of normal reactions is wide. Most grief is normal. So if somebody is expressing sadness or missing somebody, that's entirely normal. So the system could offer reassurance if they were picking up those cues. If they're not eating, if they're not sleeping, if they're smoking, if they're starting to just say quite worrying things to the avatar, then the system can advise them to see a GP, to talk to somebody, tell them it's important that they eat well, that they sleep well, because those are just some worrying symptoms. And then you can get to the abnormal grief if people are talking about ending their life or suicidal ideations. Then it's a case of signposting to the agencies that will support them. So that's built into the system, that guidance. There's lots of references. There's lots of agencies there that they can be signposted to. And the difference between normal grief, worrying signs, and time to take action is already on the website as well to support the users. So we're very careful with the tools that we use. So there's mitigations in place. We try to think about, when you're planning for anything that involves people, you've always got to think about the worst case scenario. There's no point planning for everything being within normal limits. You need to look at what can go wrong and what mitigations need to be in place to minimise that, because it's all about minimising harm and maximising benefit. So throughout all the technology and the work that's been done in the development of that, we haven't just been left at the side, we've been integrated into the dialogue that's used, how the avatar speaks to people and what support needs to be in the system.
Yeah, that's really reassuring that all of these kind of things are in place.
But it's ongoing. Just to be very clear, we're still early stages. We've got relatively few users. We're under 1,000 at the moment. But as we get to the tens of thousands, we're going to have more challenges. And we're going to go back to the ethics committee and go, whoa, what do we do here? Because we're not
Yeah.
experts. We're technologists. They are experts. And it's
Mhm.
not just Janet, it's a whole panel of 6 people with various skills, from funeral director to palliative care specialists, doctors, etc. And again, we've got a great team to start with, but I'm sure we'll enhance that team as we go forward when we have questions that we can't answer. Because it's really important that AI does good and is not allowed to do harm. And as long as you've got that as part of your core mantra as a business, as long as you've got charitable donations as a core mantra of your business, I think you're probably doing the right thing. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And we're careful to link with organisations and experts. No one's an expert in anything. So I've spent time with learning disabilities professionals, with the dementia professionals. We do a lot of secondary research. We've looked at the theological aspect of this. I've met with the Church of England vicar. I've met with Muslims. We want this to be inclusive, because another ethical principle, of course, is about justice and being equitable. So we want to make this accessible to everybody. And that includes, if somebody, we've talked to people from the blind, registered blind people, deaf people, how does this fit with the way you work? So we're always reaching out to other experts as well.
Can I give you an example there, April?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have had death threats because of the product. And you have to wake up and take them seriously, because when I did the first AI Steve standing for MP, I had a death threat then. And I jokingly said, well, see if you can find the plug to unplug me, because that's the only way you can kill me. He then came back and says, well, it's published where you live, and I'm going to come around and put an axe through your head and an axe through your computer. And then you have to go to the police, because maybe you shouldn't take death threats lightly. So the threat I got here was a lot less substantial. It was, you're going to burn in hell. Yeah. And I hope you die. I'm a Catholic and you are breaching everything we know about religion. This is the Antichrist at work. And I go, really? So I go to Janet and she says, well, let's talk to the Catholic Church. So I made an approach to the Archbishop, can't remember his name. Yeah. Didn't actually get a reply at first. So I chased again. And then we had a conversation where he goes, well, that's not our view. Yeah. And we've talked to other religions that says, yeah, Muslim religion, for example, we're worried about. And they went, it's not the slightest issue. Yeah. They live on earth and they go to another future, another world. But if they want to leave something for their generations to understand their time on earth, that's absolutely fine. So most religions don't really see an issue of leaving a record, because if they did, they'll ban autobiographies. Yeah. And that's never happened. And every religion, every generation of religious people have stories that are passed down from one generation to another. So we're just using digital technology to extend that natural storytelling that's always occurred in human beings.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not their it's not like they put themselves in the echo. It's just their story that they've left behind. It's that's all it is really. I get my people might um feel a type of way when they first saw it, like when they first saw AI Steve. But I think like these conversations are so important to allow people to really understand and get another side of view of just something that they've clicked on, watched for a couple of seconds, and made their own opinions on it.
The,
So
the worst thing, the worst thing that's happened to this business is Coronation Street, because half of the investors think it's a product that already exists because they see it on Coronation Street. Yeah. And the other half of people are worried about all the downsides played up by Coronation Street. So I'm glad I don't watch Coronation Street generally, but having watched this particular storyline, what a load of utter rubbish. It wouldn't be allowed. It doesn't exist in that methodology, and it's certainly not a product we support.
you're a celebrant. Do you think this is threatening to your job?
Who defines what's harmful? Who decides what's wrong? Who defines what beliefs are wrong? You live, you die, that's the end.